Text at the party. Pauper. I brought Pauper text at the party.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 19 of the PDH Pod, the one and only Magic the Gathering podcast dedicated to the total exploration of the Pauper Commander format. I am your host, Brad Drac V, and let's see what my co-hosts from the East Coast are up to. First, Dave the Alcadron Vader. How's your week, buddy?
My week is really good. I got to play some PDH over this weekend with some very good friends.
Nice.
I acquired the Warhammer Grixis deck. I love it dearly.
That's the one you wanted, right?
That's the one I wanted. Yeah, and I pre-ordered it. It was definitely going to be that one.
Okay.
And I got it, and it is incredible looking. I'm very excited about it. And then to celebrate, I put together in paper the Pauper deck I had designed using one of the Warhammer new uncommon creatures, and I got to play a game with that deck, and it was really profoundly stupid, and I loved it a lot.
So it was fun, stupid, not just bad stupid.
It was both, yeah. And I built a deck using Sicarian Infiltrator.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, and it's got like 35 lands, 20 rocks, and then just like a small pile of interaction, which is mostly bounce, so that I can bounce the Sicarian Infiltrator. And like the game went kind of long. Like on turn 15, I think I tapped after spending the first part of my turn, like casting a couple rocks and like bouncing my commander. I spent the rest of my 25 mana to cast Sicarian Infiltrator and make 11 copies of it and draw 12 cards.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That does sound stupid fun.
Yeah, like at that point, when I was up to, I think I was up to 36 token copies of Sicarian Infiltrator. That's when I drew Sunken City and won the game. It was
beautiful.
It was felt really good.
You gotta love a Sunken City win,
right? Like that's the only win con that deck has. Is, like you hope to draw the Sunken City. So yeah, it was a very good time. Yep. If you haven't checked out the Warhammer 40K podcast episode, definitely go listen to that. It's good high quality stuff.
Yeah, it is. We give all our thoughts, make some picks for decks, that sort of thing. I'm glad to hear that you actually built one in paper.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about doing that recently, too. So, and my Walmart still has 2 or 3 of the 40K decks on the shelves.
Oh,
so
very nice.
I've been waffling whether or not to pick them up. They had the Necrons and the Esper one, and I can't remember the other one. Maybe it was the Grixis one.
Tyranids and Demons are the other 2.
Yeah. So I've been waffling whether or not to just go get one, but I'm not sure yet.
I think you should. I think they're incredible, and like
I'll probably talk myself into it.
I'm encouraging other people to buy the deck so that I can I don't like EDH anymore, but I like these decks, and I want to accumulate like enough friends that all have copies of these specific precons that I can get like a Warhammer precon game going like that.
Like unadulterated.
Yeah, just like unedited Warhammer precon. One of each faction. Let's go. Like that seems like a really good time.
We actually talked about that on that episode. Is us getting together with a 4th person and playing some precons.
We absolutely should.
Yeah, I'm totally down with that.
Yeah, go to Walmart, buy a deck.
Go ahead. Damn it, I might have to now.
You gotta. It's the rules. I don't make the rules.
Them's the rules. All right, let's check out some other rules with our resident PDH PhD, Liam. How was your week?
My week was pretty great, and it honestly, I think today was the highlight of the last week, so that's pretty solid.
Was this the tweet you put out, the big important school tweet?
Yes.
Professional tweet?
Yeah, the TLDR of the tweet is, dude I had never met before is the district coordinator for my content area. And, I'm a month into my internship, and he made a 45-minute one-way drive to personally talk to me about a position that he wants me to intern for. So I don't know, it sent me into a thought spiral for the day. I don't know how I really feel about it, because I'm like, on the one hand, it's cool because I'm being asked to personally interview for a position by my future boss's boss.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, I'm thinking I know there's a teacher shortage, how desperate is the county right now? But I'm like, but a personal visit isn't something they do out of desperation. That would just be an email.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm
This
like,
seems fairly important.
yeah. So I'm like, this seems like there is a reason this dude is here talking to me right now, and I need to figure out what that reason is. So I've, been riding that high all day, and
Heck yeah. Well, that's really cool.
it was interesting. Like he
Were you expecting it, or was it like a surprise visit?
It was a surprise visit. Like even like my mentor teacher didn't know he was coming, and this
Holy
dude
cow.
has like the power to fire my mentor teacher on the spot. So it's like he's the content area coordinator for the district. It's insane.
That's really cool.
It was
Must be impressing somebody.
someone apparently.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they listen to the show.
It'd be cool, but doubtful.
Yeah.
It was
cool.
Yeah, that was, I think, the best end to a week anyone could ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congrats on that. Let's hope it leads to bigger and better things.
I hope the future interview does go well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Godspeed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any MTG news, or were you kind of busy with other stuff?
MTG news for the week. There's been some Secret Lair stuff poking around in the background that I've not really paid that much attention to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like every day I log on to Twitter and someone's posting pictures from a new Secret Lair that was spoiled, this day, and one spoiled yesterday, and like
exactly. I think they go on sale starting next Monday, which means next Tuesday, next week we'll have the chance to talk about them. But in relation to this week, I think the only thing that really stuck out to me was the completely botched release weekend for Warhammer and Infinity, because I mean I know Dave was just talking about how good of an experience he had, but with Infinity, there is apparently something wrong with the foils, not like talking about the curling situation.
Mm-hmm.
The stamping situation of the oval stamp versus the acorn. There are apparently there are foil sheets where that was reversed. There are acorn cards receiving eternal legal oval stamps, and there are oval cards receiving acorn stamps. And we're not talking like the uncommons or rares no one knows about. We're talking like Jade and Mira.
That's fantastic.
Are getting swap stamps, and then on top of that, the Warhammer decks are being weird. Like there are people who ordered like one case, and for those who don't know, a case of Warhammer decks comes with one of each. They ordered a case and they received 2 Necron decks, or they received two of the Grixis decks, and one of the other decks. I
saw one person post on Twitter. They opened, I think it was the Necron deck, the mono black one, and the deck itself. And this is a fairly reputable Twitter account, so I don't think he was just fishing for attention or whatever. The deck itself, he opened it up, came with 0 basic lands, and all his singletons were duplicates.
I was about to say that is outside of the sealed debacle of like some cases not having all 4 decks, having a duplicate of one of the decks. Specifically the Necron deck. I don't know why it's this one, but this is the only one I've seen it with. It comes with weird allocations. So like it'll be like doubled of all the non-basics. Or there was one Necron deck I saw where it had the Face Commander and like 6 more copies of it in place of all of the other legends.
Oh my god.
There was one I saw where it was like pretty much the whole list, but it was 1 basic short and had a second reliquary tower. And I'm like, this isn't like one mess up. This is like 5 different mess ups that all have
one repeated mistake.
This is like 5 different sheets were all messed up in a different way. But it's only happened with the Necron deck. The other misprint I saw was there is packaging that shows on the left side of the packaging where they show like a black and white grayscale image of the commander. It shows the Grixis commander. And where the mana symbols are on like where you hang the package, it shows the Grixis mana symbols. But where the face commander etched foil thing is, it shows the Tyranid commander. I've seen that particular mess up like 5 times. But I'm like, other than that, I don't.
That's amazing.
Like, there's
I saw
so
a couple,
many things messed up.
I don't think it was the Necron deck. This may have been one of the other ones, obviously. Like, they were massively miscut. Like, completely off center.
I saw
it was crazy.
I saw a completely miscut Necron deck. I also saw, I think it was the Bant deck.
Mm-hmm.
Had a
I think that's the one I saw.
Yeah.
Esper?
Crazy.
It was awful.
Do you mean the Esper deck? I didn't think there was a Bant deck.
Is it the Esper deck? Might be the Esper deck. Which one has the token dude that CEDH is going crazy about?
I don't know anything about CDH.
Oh, I have no idea.
I think it might
If
be
you're-
the Esper deck.
But I feel like the
it's
Necrons
not,
and the Esper deck are the only two I've seen people talk about. So
It's the not Grixis humans deck, whichever one that is.
So the Grixis deck is mostly Astartes, and I'm probably pronouncing that word wrong. Astartes, whatever like the
Yeah.
Chaos Marine people are. It's
Yeah.
Astartes and
Those
Demon.
are the humans. Those are the humans. So whatever
Esper
the
deck
not
is
Grixis-
humans,
Okay. Yeah.
and then
okay, yeah.
Tyranid are Teamer, and Necrons are Mono Black.
It must have been the Esper then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like crazy miscut, like super high. I'm sure she sold it for a bunch.
My Grixis deck was perfect.
That's good.
And
That's good to hear. I don't know how I would feel because I remember when the Jumpstart, the very first Jumpstart came out. And do you remember those printing debacles? Like there was double images on the basic lands,
Yeah.
and all kinds of stuff. Like I don't know how I would feel if I opened a Premier product and it was messed up like that.
I'd be ticked off.
Yeah, probably. All right. Well, got any other 40K or Unfinity stuff to go over?
No, that's all I got for this week.
How are you doing, Brad?
Oh,
Yeah.
myself. I am recovering from Game 2 last night. I played Saravok, and it was absolutely atrocious.
Oh,
Like,
no.
I don't know why that card was printed.
See,
It's got to be the worst card ever made.
he's rough.
Like,
Like,
so rough.
you gotta-
Like, he warps a game in such a way that it's not even the game anymore. Like, you become an instant threat, but no one wants to kill you, the player, because they want the other players to take Saravok damage. It's a whole thing. Like, I could not... I think... Well, Saravok did damage player 4 twice. Not for a ton, but twice. But I think I took personally more Saravok damage than... Or at least as much as anybody else. And player 1 just had never-ending blood tokens, so I'm like, oh, well, I guess it's not going to go there.
yeah, I watched.
It's just weird to have a whole deck built around a commander that literally turns off to a treasure token.
Yeah, I've watched the pals try to play Saravak a lot, and in the pals meta, they have as a channel points reward, you can spend something like 1,000 or 2,000 points to redeem something called Grumgully's Generosity, where each player rolls a 6-sided die, and based on that result, each player gets either like a treasure, food, blood, shard, clue, some kind of token that they can
okay.
sacrifice.
Mhm.
And so every single time John plays his Saravak deck, someone in the chat is like, I know how to ruin that guy's day. They
Oh,
just
no.
do Grumgully's
Come
Generosity a
on.
lot.
Oh, no.
It's so heartbreaking watching John just suffer eternally.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, well, the pals told me today, with their condolences, they will play Saravok tonight in memorandum of me.
Good. Yeah,
But other than
I'll
that,
check-
it was good.
I will check that out.
Yeah, other than that, good weekend. Played some good PDH on Saturday. Game 1 last night was awesome. It went pretty good. I played a Herd Baloth deck that I sort of threw together on like Friday. I took out players 1 and 3, and then had player 4 down to like literally 2 life, and then I lost. But that was surprisingly good for a mono green deck.
Is Herd Bailout the one that goes infinite with Ivy Lane?
Yes, I didn't get to that point, but I was creating beasts aplenty because I think in my opening hand or by turn 3, I had Wirewood Savage on board.
Oh,
So every time I made a
nice.
token, I drew a card.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
That's
That
incredible.
was the optimal draw. But yeah, that was fun. And outside of PDH, everything else is going pretty smooth, so cannot complain.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we can move on to our main topic here. This was actually a pretty cool topic, and it was inspired, I think, Liam put out one of his, hey, listeners, send us some Q&A questions for the show. And this one popped up, and it sort of turned into something that was going to be a little bigger than 1 or 2 tweets could answer. So we decided to turn it into a show. Is that correct, pretty much?
Yeah, I think I kind of pitched it to you guys as a question, and then one of you was like, we should just do that as a whole like episode topic.
Yeah,
And I was like, okay, solid.
I feel like this showed up on our show notes like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I started to answer it, and I was like, I will explain. Wait, no, there's too much. I will sum up.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's what it was.
no, let's just make a whole show out of this because we can
Yeah.
definitely talk about this for an hour.
See, and that's what we do. We love our listeners.
Yeah.
The question in question is, which creature would you like to see downshifted so you can play them in PDH? And we sort of took that as downshifted to the 99, downshifted to uncommon, and then we added our own little third category here too. So Liam, do you want to give them sort of the categories that we're going to be listing these cards in?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first category that we have is 3 reprints. These can be reprints in the 99 or reprints in the command zone. The reason for these reprints would just be cost or bling reasons. So, for example, expensive cards like Oubliette that got a reprint in Double Masters. That would have fallen into this category 2 years ago. The second category is 3 downshifts to the 99. So these would be cards, not necessarily creatures, but ideally every one of us is bringing at least one creature where they are currently an uncommon, and we'd like to see them down to common. And the third category is 1 promotion or downshift to the commander spot. So this could be if there's a common creature for whatever reason you really want to put in the command zone, or if there is a rare, which I think we all chose a rare, that we wanted to downshift to the uncommon rarity, so we could play it as a commander. And again, this does not have to be a legendary creature. It could be any rare creature that we want to see at uncommon.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah. Love it, Dave.
Yeah, so I think we can just get started here.
Yeah.
I'm first on the list. Do you want me to start, or do you one of you first want to go?
Absolutely, Brad. You may start. What are your reprints for cost or bling reasons?
For cost or bling, I think 2 of them. Well, there's 1 for cost, 1 for bling, and 1 for kind of both. I'll start with the kind of both first, and that is Snuff Out. It's been printed, I think, 3 times, and it never drops below like $5, and that's not super bad. But if it's kind of annoying still to like. Currently, the Dual Decks Garruk versus Liliana is $21. Like, that is absurd for a common removal spell.
Wait, did you say Snuff Out is $20?
Yeah, the one from the Dual Deck Anthology, I guess. Garruk versus Liliana. Yeah.
Bruh, what?
It's $21. The one from the actual Dual Deck series, Garruk versus Liliana, is only $10, and the original Mercadian Mask is almost $7.
That's a recent spike, because that was not $20.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. Last time I actually looked at Snuff Out, I've always known it's expensive, but the last time I actually looked at it, I think that $21 one was around $12 or $13.
Yeah.
Which is still absurd, I think, but yeah, so definitely I want that. I'd like a foil version of that. I think the foil Mercadian Mask is
like $100.
Well, yeah, pushing 3 digits for sure. So I want that for cost and bling reasons, because I've never owned a foil one. That's why I bought the foreign language one, because I didn't want to pony up for the foil. Another bling option, or the bling option, would be I just really want a foil Pestilence that isn't a proxy. Like I see people like they want one, so they go ahead and print one on their own and make one, and they're beautiful. They look cool as hell, but I want an actual Magic the Gathering 2 and 2 black, deal 1 damage to everything, Pestilence, Enchant World, or whatever, with foil. Like Urza's Saga art, or even brand new art, it's fine too.
No.
Uh-oh.
It has to be Kev Walker art. The OG art is ugly. I want Kev Walker 5th edition art. In old border. One. I don't care about a foil
one, yeah.
I want old border Kev Walker 5th edition Pestilence art with the black border. Like I'm kind of okay with the white borders. Like I will put white bordered cards into a deck that has a lot of other white bordered cards in it. Like I can't have just one, but I can have like a dozen, and I really like that. So like I'm into the 5th edition Pestilence, but like I have a couple decks that don't have any other white bordered cards, and I would sell.
Now, is that because you play unsleeved and it's easier to see them, or is it just sort of like it's the only one?
Yeah, it feels really out of place when it's the only white bordered card on your field, and I don't like that. I get that. And like also, sometimes you can see which card is the white bordered one when you shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
So, you need to have a certain critical mass of them so you can't see which one's which.
But yeah, it'd be cool with the Kev Walker art in foil. That'd be awesome. I just want a foil Pestilence. Golly. Can't be too much to ask, right?
I am very partial to the Pete Ventus art from Urza's Saga.
I think of the existing arts, I would like to see that one in foil.
I was really into that art for a while, and then I figured out what the things were in the background, and I was like, oh, they're a little bit lame. I just got really into the Kev Walker art instead. I'm also just a huge fan for Kev Walker.
Well, And the Pete Venters one, it's got the nice sunset in the back, orange haze everywhere. I think that would look pretty dynamite in foil. But
I don't think that's a sunset. I think that's just noxious fumes.
just noxious fumes, yeah. They say the smog is the reason for such beautiful sunsets.
And witch engines. If you're wondering what's in the background, it's called a witch engine, which is a creature that can tap for 4 black mana at the expense of your opponent gains control of it. Also, it has Swamp Block, so it's unblockable for you.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah. It's a terrible
Is it an
card.
uncommon?
No,
Can it be a commander?
It is rare.
Oh, damn. All right, and then finally, of my 3, this one is strictly a cost reason. I don't care if it's in foil or regular, but Tangle. I went to go buy a Tangle for my cube, and it's freaking $10.
What?
Bro, what?
Yep. Tangle. Here, let me pull up the card Tangle. 1 green, 1 colorless.
It's just
prevent
the
all
better
combat
sport
damage
card, right?
that would be dealt this turn. Attacking creatures don't untap during the controller's next untap step. It was printed in Invasion and a World Championship deck, and that's it.
Oh wow!
No, see, this is where you just go buy the gold water one for $1.
Yeah, it's $1.25. The Invasion one actually came down $1 since I looked a few days ago. It is $8.44.
Brad finding all the pop-up picks that are obscene.
I know, it's ridiculous.
But
I just want
play Spore Cloud instead and just rock the Fallen Empires-ness.
That too.
Oh, I love it.
Spore Cloud is also brutal because I love Tangle, but I like using Spore Cloud slightly more because if you're not involved in that combat, you just screw 2 people over, which is hilarious.
Because it taps the blockers as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, that's very funny.
I like using it like that. Even if there's no clear way I can benefit from it, I just like it when someone alpha attacks and someone just uses all their creatures to block. And I'm just tap them all down.
Get them all.
Just all of them.
That's awesome. I have not looked at Spore Cloud in a hot minute. That's great.
God bless Fallen Empires.
Tangle being that expensive upsets me. I hope it gets a reprint in that Dominaria remastered set.
I bought some about a year ago for my Pauper 60 card, my Pauper Battle Box for
and it wasn't that
Infect, I believe, or Turbo Fog. Yeah, and it was $2 or $3 a piece.
It was pretty bulk. I remember.
Yeah, and now in the last 8 to 10, 12 months, they've quadrupled for some reason. Anyway, so
I'm looking it up on MTG Goldfish because I'm curious. It was pretty cheap. MTG Goldfish hasn't even registered it at $10 yet.
That's crazy.
It still thinks.
Yeah, and I was just going through my cube list. I'm like, oh wait, I got Moment's Peace, but I'd like to add Tangle, so I pulled it up, and I was like, holy cow!
Wait, that's on mine. I can use MTG Goldfish. Yeah, a year ago at Midnight Hunt, Crimson Vow was $3.
Yep.
Shoot, even at Capenna it was $5.
It's crazy.
That's insane. Why?
I don't know. That pretty much rounds out my 3. Who wants to go next?
I can take it.
Go for it, Dave.
The first and most important card I need to put on the list of things that I want to be reprinted so that they show up in more decks more commonly is a card that would be a PAL staple if it were more easily available. So the holy trinity of the PALs meta is Scaretiller, Howling Golem, and Marching Duodrone, and it absolutely would be a holy quadrigy.
Sure. Okay.
Trinity. What's the first?
Quadrant.
The holy quadrilateral. It would be a holy quadrilateral of the PDH Pals meta if Mightstone were not a $15 card.
Yep.
So
100% agree.
Liam tells me it's on the reserve list. I don't really know what the reserve list is. I trust him, but whatever. Make the reserve list go away so I can have Mightstones.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. For a while, I was thinking that Ashnod's Altar was kind of in the same boat here as one of those really old cards that is just never going to get reprinted. In the pre-show discussion, Liam reminded me that Ashnod's Altar has been reprinted and is still a $10 card.
And is still crazy expensive.
So let's get another one of those going.
Because it enables combos in every format that it's legal in.
Yeah. The other 2 cards that I would love... Those are the 2 cards that I want reprinted just to bring the price down, so I can put them into more decks and feel less guilty about bridge shuffling them unsleeved. The other 2 cards that I want to see reprinted are because I want foil copies of them, and those 2 are Curfew and Hermetic Study.
I was wondering about this. I was wondering why these 2 cards.
Curfew's so good.
Yeah, Curfew is a powerhouse in my competitive. So right now there's basically only 2 decks that I'm really interested in foiling all of. I have a Gilder Baron deck. Gilder Baron was my first ever PDH deck, and right now it is 100% foil. And making it 100% foil meant that I had to take out Hermetic Study, which is a incredible powerhouse of a card in this deck. Just incredible card.
Okay.
And it's cut. Like I'm running the other ones. Like I have a foil Psionic Gift and I have a foil Viridian Longbow. Like I've got other ways to tap the Gilder Baron because it has an untap ability. But I had to cut Hermetic Study, so I want that back in once it has a foil printing. Curfew is in my other like mostly foil deck, which is Marsh Crocodile, which really needs a foil Curfew and a foil Pestilence.
Yes, it absolutely does.
Yeah.
It deserves one.
I agree. That's it. That's my entire list. Those are the only 2 decks I care about foiling, and they're each missing some
and then
key cards.
Pulling that up with your little handy dandy link, I just found out that Curfew has a Battle Royale box set printing.
Ooh.
It's got a white border.
Oh, I did not know that.
I love the Battle Royale set, all the white border cards. Exhume, I got a white border Exhume in my queue.
Very cool.
It's glorious.
That's gross. All right, so my 3.
You got some ballers on your list.
Yeah. My first one is Lotus Petal. For one, I'm just obsessed with this card. I couldn't tell you why. I don't know why I'm obsessed with Lotus Petal. I definitely didn't play the game when Tempest was out, but I just think it's obscene that this card is $20. I think it should be much lower. You know, I get it's a generically good card that can realistically be run in anything, but I just think it shouldn't be $20. I think it's victim of being an old card that's never seen an actual reprint that everyone knows is good but doesn't know why it's good.
Right.
I would honestly gently disagree with it being generically good. I think there are certain decks where it is very specifically very good, but I think generically it's actually pretty bad. I think most of the time spending an entire card from your hand to get 1 mana once is almost always a bad plan outside of very specific decks.
Yeah, but it's a free mana.
No, it's not free. It costs you a card.
Yeah, it's not a real resource. Anyway, moving on.
It's not a real resource in EDH when everyone is going to play Wheel of Fortune every other turn and refilling your hand is effortless. But in PDH, it's a huge resource.
Lotus Petal is so expensive that it has 3 different printings, also on MTGO, and the cheapest one there is $18.
Yeah.
For a digital version.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, I just think it should be a little cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think it's a bulk card.
I mean, hell, treasures are pretty much free nowadays.
Yeah. I don't think a Lotus Petal will ever be a bulk card, but I think it shouldn't be $20 either.
No, I don't think it deserves bulk status, but it shouldn't be $19.20 or $450 for an invention.
My second one was actually inspired by a listener question for this week because of what it represents, and it is Utopia Sprawl. And
that's a good one.
Utopia Sprawl represents a card that is good in many formats, including PDH. It's good in 60 card in certain decks. It's really good in PDH, and EDH players are starting to slowly ease up and understand the benefits of enchantment ramp.
Yeah.
You know, it's a slow process, but I've definitely seen some people messing around with enchantment ramp outside of enchantress-based decks. And, you know, it's not like they're swapping all their rocks out for enchantments, right? They're just like, hey, maybe this 4 or 5 mana rock could be swapped out for a 1 or 2 mana enchantment in green, and, you know, maybe my mana's a little better. And so I've been slowly stocking up on these types of cards, like my Wild Growths and my Utopia Sprawls, just so I have them for the inevitable price spike in a year or two.
Yep.
But I think it definitely it represents a class of cards that is good in EDH and PDH and maybe 60 card that I think just need to constantly be reprinted in the precons that we are constantly getting just to keep their price down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, obviously it's fantastic in like a Boggle situation,
100%.
Modern and Pauper and all that stuff. So yeah. And it was about a year ago where Utopia Sprawl was pushing $15-$20.
Yeah, it was pushing $15-$20, and then it got a reprint.
Yeah,
and it dropped it to 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's currently sitting around 6 or 7, so it's going back up.
Yeah, 6 or 7, and then the Secret Lair is about $8 to $9.
Yeah, and if you want a foil, I would recommend picking up the Secret Lair foils right now because they are the cheapest foils, and they won't stay that way for long.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but definitely, I think Utopia Sprawl. I want to see it reprinted again because I think with enough reprints, it could with anything with enough reprints could absolutely reach bulk levels. But I think Utopia Sprawl in general, with a handful of more reprints, it could easily stay at $1 or $2 for a while.
Yeah. The original Dissension printing of Utopia Sprawl in foil is $40.
Yeah, like if they put Utopia Sprawl on every precon that has green, and it's the only land enchantment in the deck, I think that would be fine.
Mhm.
It wouldn't hurt
Sure.
the decks at all. But yeah, so it's Utopia Sprawl specifically, but it's representing that class of card. And
Yeah.
the third pick is also representing a class of cards that is personal to me, but it's also I chose this specific card because of the volatility that is attached to it. Chainer's Edict. Players in 60-card Pauper don't like Chainer's Edict. I think Chainer's Edict is a perfectly fair card. I don't know what their complaints are.
Right.
This group of cards is a group of cards that is Pauper legal because of their common printing on Magic Online. However, they have
Yes.
yet to see
Vintage Masters.
they have yet to see a common printing in paper. And as someone who likes to use common printings in paper, this is annoying. Cards that fall into this are Chainer's Edict, Battle Screech, Beetleback Chief, Circular Logic, Tangle, and that's just from Vintage Masters. There's dozens of these cards that I really wish they would reprint with a common set symbol once.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's just for
Yeah, Vintage Masters on Magic Online was a boon for the format, but we could definitely use some of those cards.
where Brad
at
and
common
Dave
rarity.
Brad and Dave chose cards for their foiling reasons. I chose them because they are cards that don't have a common set symbol in paper, and I would like them to have one. Because that is
Good
my
thing.
style of bling.
I can get behind that.
For sure.
All right. Dave, what's our next category here on the big board of wish lists?
Next category is cards that have uncommon printings that we want to see get downshifted into the 99.
Do you want to start us off?
I would love to start us off because I am filled with righteous anger.
Ooh.
I am so impossibly angry that Blazing Rootwalla is not a common. It is a throwback to Basking Rootwalla. It is in the Madness colors. It is not a broken card. It absolutely could have been common.
Yep.
Modern
But it
Horizons
is
would
not.
have been better if it were common, and I would not be filled with rage.
You would be less rage filled.
I would be less rage-filled if Blazing Rootwalla were a common.
You don't like your commanders to have madness?
I don't need my commanders to have madness. I need my 99 to have madness. And like, there's a handful of like other, uncommons with madness that I'm like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. Like Violent Eruption. I don't care whether that's common or uncommon, but Blazing Rootwalla was given to me in the set with madness as not common, and I will die mad about it.
Yep. Die mad until we get one.
I am equally angry that the mana rock that lets you venture into the dungeon was not common. It is a terrible mana rock. It is a terrible card.
Yeah. I agree.
No one needed to look at this card and be like, you know what? Limited needs fewer of those. Like,
Yeah. For a mechanic that they're featuring and want you to play.
what is it? Is it 3 mana? Yeah, 3 mana,
3 mana,
tap it,
yep.
venture into the dungeon. Activate only as a sorcery. Are you kidding me? Make it common, you dingus. Gavin, I know you listen to this. Listen,
Get at us.
give it to me.
Give it.
I need a common dungeon map.
All right. Well, you're 2 for 2.
2 for 2? I wrote more than 3 things in this list. I guess my third slot is a stand-in for like there's a lot of equipment that are really, really entertaining that I want to be common. Like these are cards that I actually think if they showed up as in common slots in a draft product, I think that would get messy really fast.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
like
yeah.
if these got downshifted in some sort of special promo product or in a commander deck or something, I think that would be really fun. And these cards are Bloodthirsty Blade. It's an equipment that you attach to opponents' creatures, and it makes those creatures goaded. It's like the equipment version of the impetus cycle. And Assault Suit lets you attach it to your own creature, and then you can pass your creature around the table for each person's turn. And when an opponent starts their turn, you can give them this creature for the turn, and it can attack anyone except you. I think these are just extremely entertaining, like multiplayer politics cards. I would love to have them in PDH.
Super fun.
Yeah,
I would totally play with those.
Yeah, and because
I would not be mad if they were downshift.
Because I'm a dirty, filthy cheater, I put more than 3 cards into this category. The other card I badly need, downshifted to common, is Spore Sower Thallid. We got Sporoloth Ancient. We got that downshift. We did not get the Spore Sower Thallid downshift. It's still only an uncommon. It's a green, I think it's a 4-mana 4/4 that puts spore counters on all of your Thallids every turn. So it accelerates the rate. Oh, all of your funguses, yeah. So it accelerates the rate at which your Saproling producing spore counter Thallids produce their Saprolings, which is really cool.
I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. It could get downshifted easily as long as it gets new art. I hate the art on that card. Ron Spencer needs to be stopped.
It has been the same art in all 3/4 printings.
Yeah, it needs new art, needs a common printing, and then I will be happy.
Yep.
That's it. Those are the 5 cards I want downshifted. Those of the 3 downshifts I was allowed to talk about. That's all 5 of them.
Beautiful list. I hadn't even considered like some artifacts or specifically enchantments, or equipment. Sorry. So it's a pretty good list. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What do you got, Liam?
So of my 3 downshifts that I was allowed, I have 12. I'm going to sum, I guess 11. I'm going to sum 9 of them up real quick. The Ravnica Charm Cycle.
Yeah.
I had this poking feeling that, with Fire Design, I felt like most, if not all of the charms could be downshifted. There were a couple that I was questionable about because I was like, this would be really great for PDH, but oh my gosh, I really don't want to see how that affects 60 card. And the one that was really big like that for me was Is It Charm? And that's the first one they downshifted. So I feel like since most of my reservation was with 60 card, and the number 1 card that I had reservations about 60 card was the first one they downshifted, I feel like the rest can be downshifted.
Yeah, if they're going to bring Is It Charm, I think we're fine.
Yeah, the only other one that I would have reservations about 60 card Pauper would be Boros Charm.
That's powerful, yeah.
But that's in 60 card. When it comes to PDH, Boros Charm is still powerful, but it's not as oppressive. I think in terms of PDH, we would want to watch out for Golgarian Rakdos Charm, because we hear about the stories all the time in EDH, and I would just be concerned that would carry over to PDH as well. However, one time regenerate the whole board is actually relevant in PDH, so yeah.
Is that what Golgari Charm does?
Yeah, that's one of its modes, is regenerate each creature you control.
Huh.
Yep.
I know.
Or you can destroy an enchantment, or all creatures get -1/-1 until the end of turn.
Yep. Huh. Yeah, that seems reasonable. Like we have that regenerate all creatures card in Pauper already. It's called.
We got a couple of them, yeah.
Wrap in Vigor, and it's really mediocre. It's not a good card.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it'd be okay. It would just be something to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it. I just want that Charm Cycle to now just come down to common, since they downshifted the big problem child.
Yeah.
My next
Directly
pick,
into the blue decks.
My next pick, I lied when I said I only had 11. I have like 14. My next pick is Unclaimed Territory. This card, I would have been on the fence about downshifting it to common, but with the Secluded Courtyard card coming out in Kamigawa, I think Unclaimed Territory, which is technically a slightly worse version, can absolutely be a common.
Sure.
I have a hard time with card evaluation these days because all the cards I'm going to talk about came before Fire Design. So with Fire Design being in play, everything kind of gets downshifted by 1 rarity if it's older than Fire Design.
Yeah.
It's kind of awkward to talk about. But I think Unclaimed Territory, the land from Ixalan, that's a tribal land, could absolutely be down in a common now. In addition, I think Ancient Ziggurat, which is the all-color land for only creature spells, and Myriad Landscape could all be downshifted to common.
Yeah, I would love to see, and it could be any of the ones you mentioned, I would love to see some sort of tribal land at common.
Also, Myriad Landscape, I keep putting it in PDH decks because I keep forgetting it's not a I have like this, what is it, the Mandela effect?
It feels like a common.
Like, I feel like I remember seeing a common printing somewhere of it, and now I can't find it, and it's all uncommon, and I'm just like, ugh. So I keep subconsciously putting it in decks and then realizing it doesn't belong there.
Can we just take a moment to consider Myriad Landscape and Scaretiller?
Oh no, I've considered it.
Let's just pause and let that energy flow through you for a second. Like,
breathe in, breathe out.
and then
okay,
my
now
third
I feel
pick.
Good. Carry on.
Yeah, my third pick is a card that, realistically, when you think about it, probably doesn't really need to be in Pauper. However, I have a reason I want it to get a common printing, and that is Eternal Witness. And we all know what Eternal Witness does, and we all know that uncommon might be pushing it, despite the fact that it has a bunch of uncommon printings. But yeah, I want this card in common because I have this little tracking thing that I'm doing of cards that hit all 5 rarities in paper. So that would be common, uncommon, rare, mythic, and time shifted or special, which is the purple rarity.
Yeah.
There are currently 244 special/purple rarity cards, the 121 cards from the initial time shifted sheet, the 121 cards from the remastered time shifted sheet, and then the Piper dude from Commander Legends and the faceless one from Commander Legends 2. I really want more cards to join that list. There is one card that has all 5 rarities in paper, and that is Desert. And there are a couple cards that are really, really close. There's a lot of cards that are really close that are only missing the special rarity, which would be Chain Lightning, Counterspell, Cud Ape, and Ornithopter. And then there's a bunch of others that are missing one base rarity in the special, but the base rarity that they're missing is Mythic, so they just need to hit some kind of invention cycle. But the one that has all of the base rarities and the special, except the one base rarity it's missing is common, is Eternal Witness. I think Eternal Witness being downshifted to common would be great, because it would be the second card to join all 5 paper rarity printings. Mm-hmm. And that's the only reason I want to downshift
I'm totally with you.
But when it comes to gameplay, this card should absolutely never be a common.
Yeah, it might be a little OP for common, but I am with you on every other respect.
Yeah, there's I will never get a job at Wizards, but if I had a job at Wizards, you would start seeing random cards printed at random rarities, and this would be the reason why. Just a heads up. You'd be like, why is there a Mythic Tormod script?
Because Liam needed one.
Because Liam needs one. Why is there an Aven Mind Sensor common that's all of a sudden getting insta-banned? Because I needed one. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, day 0 ban.
Yeah.
He needed it.
There'd be a lot of day 0 bans if I was in charge of game design.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So that's it. That's all I got. Most of them are selfish reasons, but that's what this is for, right?
Oh, that's cool. It's a fun list. I'd be interested in playing with all of those. Well, why don't you take that last category and start us off?
Brad, what about your 3 downships?
I need to hear about yours.
Did I not get to mine? Holy
no,
crap,
we didn't do yours
sure
yet.
Didn't. Whew, my bad. All right, well, also, similar to Liam, sort of cheated. I actually have more than 3, but one of them is a cycle. First downshift I would love to see in common, because I love enchantments and I love Theros, would be the Ordeal cycle from original Theros. Ordeal of Erebos, Helia, Nylea, Perforos, and Thassa. I don't know. I never actually drafted Theros in person, digitally, none of it. So I don't know how good these played out at Uncommon in the format or in the standard environment surrounding it.
They felt really bad
sort of
in
looking
draft.
at them, and what's that?
They felt really bad in draft because they were good cards, but they didn't feel like an Uncommon. They did.
They didn't. They felt too weak to be an Uncommon.
Yeah,
or
but
too strong.
They felt too weak to be an Uncommon, but they felt too strong to be a common.
Oh,
so it was just it was this awkward placement where it's like you don't really want to take them as the Uncommon pick out of the pack, but they're better than some of the commons in the set. So it's like, it was an okay pick, but it wasn't great. But
these are a bit older.
Yeah, that kind of describes that set. So
yeah, that's a very good point. These are a bit older, so if some of the listeners don't know, they're all creature enchantment auras. They all do literally the same text box in the first paragraph, covers all 5 of them. It's when enchanted creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Then if it has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you sacrifice that aura, and then you get a ability relevant to the color, like the black one discards, the white one gains life, the blue one draws cards, yada, yada, yada. So I don't think that they would be too strong. Even in 60 card where you can have 4 of them, I don't think they'd be crazy strong.
Yeah.
Because enchantments just aren't super good in 60 card Pauper. There's just too much efficient removal in that format for it to be super good, but I love them. I love that there's a cycle of enchantments from one of my favorite sets. That's my pick.
I love them from a design standpoint. When I read them and understood what they do, as a representation of the kind of ordeal that some capricious ancient Greek god would put you through, doing this thing that would put you in danger over and over again while also making you stronger, and then giving you a prize when you proved yourself worthy and survived it all. That whole idea is perfectly captured by these cards. You have to attack. That's the trigger. You might get blocked and die. You might get lightning bolted and die. That's the risk of being an attacker. You get the counters, you get stronger, and then you get the reward. Impeccable
design. Great design.
Incredible.
Yeah,
I think
dripping with flavor.
I think they are very fragile cards. It's when you're running enchantments like that, it's easy to get 2 for 1 before you get the payoff.
Yeah,
so
don't I know?
But there's also cool things you can do with it. If you put them on a creature that already has a bunch of counters and then attack, you can kind of just get the reward.
You can't specify counters that came from this aura.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I definitely want to see those at common at some point. I don't know if a 3rd or 4th visit to Theros will give us those, but we shall see. So that's definitely a more selfish request, because I don't know that everyone would want to play with those. The next one is also a selfish request because I love janky mill cards, mill strategies, and I would, and to be honest, this is probably more of a 60 card pauper request for me, but I would love to see Psychic Corrosion downshifted to common from uncommon. It may be too strong, but I'd love to see it. It's whenever you draw a card, each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard.
Jace's Erasure.
Milling
2
times 2. This time it's personal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love when I first signed up. I think when I first opened my Arena account, it was during the standard where there was a mono blue mill deck, and it wasn't very good, but I played the hell out of that deck all the time. And I think this was in there, and like Forgotten Wall or Wall of Forgotten something, and Patient Rebuilding, and all those other cards. It was hella fun to play, but it was not very good. So yeah, Psychic Corrosion is definitely a selfish request. I don't think anyone ever wants that at common, but I do.
Seems fun.
And then the last one I have here is Golgari, and I think this could actually be really fun, possibly good for the PDH format itself, not just for me and my decks, but it is Death Reap Ritual. I just learned about this card like a year and a half ago. It's 2, a black and a green for just an enchantment, and it just has the mechanic Morbid. At the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, draw a card. Nice, clean, simple, perfectly Golgari. I love it.
It's a great card. It's great art, too.
It is really good art, and it's had quite a few printings, too. Now, I don't know if this would be too strong for PDH, but I don't know. I'd be willing to give it a shot.
I think it would be fine.
The only thing about it is, I mean, you're not going to get buried, under card advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could if you're drawing one card every single turn, but the only real problem with it is that it's an enchantment, and those are just kind of hard to deal with currently.
Yeah, but I think PDH players run more enchantment removal anyway. Like, I think that's the thing we just do naturally.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's an honest request. Like, I honestly think that one would be okay. It's not a selfish request. It would be fun for the format.
In evaluating whether or not it's too strong, I have to compare it to Ristic. And because Ristic is also an enchantment that draws you an absurd number of cards.
True.
And I think that in competitive games, creatures die a lot less often than your opponents cast spells. So it's going to trigger a lot less frequently. I think it costs more and is much more difficult to play. You have to be in green-black to run it.
Yeah.
And I think that
instead of 1.
Right. And I think that in those colors, it's much more difficult to protect. Like, Ristic Study can draw you cards while you're engaged in the counterspell war to protect your own Ristic Study.
It can draw you more protection.
Right. And like you can, if someone comes up with a Naturalize or the, Return to Nature or whatever, like you can fight that in blue. Like, when you're in green and black trying to protect your Death Reap Ritual, like, you have Tamio safekeeping. Like,
yeah, like you would have
then
to
the
be in
list
Sultai
ends.
if you wanted any sort of interaction or protection.
Yeah. So like, if it does become a problem, like, people can just be like, I kill your enchantment, and you're like, well, okay.
There goes that. Yeah.
I drew 4 cards off it and it ate a removal spell, so like, good job, but now it's not a problem anymore. Like, yeah, so I feel like it would be like fine for the format, probably pretty strong, but like not game warping.
But I would love, and that could just be from my like desire to see Golgari be successful archetypes in every format. I wish Tordex was better in 60 card pauper, and just stuff like that. So
Tordex really good if you have Conrad.
Oh, it's real good. But yeah, I think that rounds out my list of downshifts to the 99. Let's try this again. Liam, you want to take the last category there and start us off?
Yeah, sure. The last category is our promotion or downshift to commander status. And my commander that I've chosen is Ogre Battle Driver. This one is a 2-red, 3/3 Ogre Warrior. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, that creature gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. I have no reason to want this at uncommon other than just pure nostalgia. One of my first products that I actually bought for Magic was the Speed versus Cunning Duel deck, and I can't name.
That's the best art too.
Yeah, I can't name the number one choice that I would actually have for the downshift because one of my co-hosts took it, and I willingly gave it up because they've been playing the game for much longer than I have and have been wanting that downshift for much longer than I have. So I chose my number 2 pick from this product, which was Kranko. And Kranko cannot be an uncommon ever. So I chose my number 3
No.
pick, which was Ogre Battle Driver. And you know what? I love this card. I love it a lot. I like the art. I like the flavor and the idea behind it. It's just a fun card, and if you've never played with it, I recommend it. And yeah, so I just want to see it at uncommon. I don't have a deck brewed around it because it's not an uncommon, but be assured, if it ever for whatever reason gets an uncommon printing, I will have a deck brewed around it. I just like it. It's a cool card.
Beautiful.
Lots
I was
of
not
nostalgia.
expecting a super aggro downshift from you, but I love it.
Yeah, it's chill.
Yeah, it's chill. It's cool.
What about you,
What do you
Brad?
got,
What do you
Dave?
got? No, let's do Brad.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do me. Mine, I feel like it's a little further out there, a little more of a stretch. So let me just name it first. I would love to play with, as my commander, I would love to have Alicia, who smiles at death, in the command zone. I know I can play EDH with her, but I'd rather play PDH with her because it kind of does everything I want to be doing. Like on the very, very short list of my favorite commons of all time is Tethmost High Priest. He's got heroic, you target a spell or target him with a spell, and it brings back a creature or with mana value 2 or less to the battlefield. I mean, this is basically the same card, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, exactly.
Except this one's just better. But yeah, when she attacked, you can pay hybrid white-black, bring back a creature or power 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield, tapped and attacking. First strike, it's in Mardu colors. Like, it literally has a little bit of everything I want to be doing. Like, it's got that Tethmost High Priest effect, a little reanimation effect. It's got red direct damage. It's got, you can do some prowess stuff with it. It just, I know it's too powerful to be ever an uncommon, but give me something similar. I wouldn't know how to design it. Maybe make it cost more, give it 1 toughness, or take away first strike, or give its ability, make its ability cost 3 mana. I don't know how you would fix it to make something like this an uncommon, but I would love if we got anything similar to this in these colors specifically. That's it. I've never actually played with the card. I've never owned one. I've never played a deck with it, but I've always been fascinated by it. And I think that's probably where my Tethmost High Priest love comes from, because I've always just fantasized about playing a deck with this, in it at some point.
I came really close to building an EDH deck with her once because I love Mardu as a color combination. I
do too.
the aesthetic of the Mardu clan.
I do too.
I love the mechanics of the Mardu clan. So I went around and I got all of the really classic Mardu warriors.
Yeah.
I found foil copies of them, and I started to put this deck together, and then I fell out of love with EDH and never finished. But I do love Alicia. I also I don't read the Magic storyline much these days, but there's one Magic story that I've read 4 times, and it legitimately brings tears to my eyes, and it is the story of how Alicia got her name.
Oh.
And
Okay.
if you haven't read it, you should go find that one.
Now you say story. Is it an actual book, or is it
No,
a mini story?
It's
somewhere?
like
Web
it's like an
fiction.
article.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's on Wizards' website somewhere. Yeah.
Maybe if we can find the link, I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, you should. I'll look for the link after the show. It is
Awesome.
an incredible story. I love it.
But yeah, that's my pick. I think it should be fun, very powerful,
It's
and
a great pick.
I don't know if it's just my obsession with Magic the Gathering or whatever, but it's one of those cards where, like I said, I've never played with it. I've never owned it. I've only ever seen people have fun with it. But it's one of those that I look at and I just have a connection to it, if that makes sense. Like, there are very few cards that I look at and I'm just like, yep, that's me. That's what I want to be doing. I feel it and I love it. And she's one of them for some reason. So yeah, that's my little spiel. What do you got, Dave?
In the continuing theme of not being able to count, have chosen 11 cards to talk about as my one promotion / downshift to commander.
It is good that you are not a math teacher.
It's great that I'm not a math teacher. I would be a terrible math teacher. Good. In the continuing theme of Fate Reforged,
Yes.
Wedge commanders, I want to give an honorable mention to the Fate Reforged mythic cycle of Wedge creatures. So I'm going to forget half their names already.
Let's see what
Soulfire
you got.
Mystic? Is that one of them?
Soulfire Grandmaster.
Soulfire Grandmaster. Brutal Horde Chief.
Yeah.
Shaman of the Great Hunt.
3.
Warden of the First Tree.
Oh, got it. 4.
And The Sultai one.
The blue one.
The Sultai fish one.
Yep.
The Sultai one.
The Sultai one. No one, yeah, whatever that one's called.
Torrent
Love it.
Elemental.
Torrent Elemental. Seems good.
Yep.
These get an honorable mention because I think every single one of them is far too powerful to be an uncommon creature. I think that would be
Sure.
very warping, but I love the way that they're designed. I love their mechanics. What I really want is wedge color identity creatures with similar but less powerful or less aggressively costed abilities and stat lines.
Sure.
So that would be cool. And one of the reasons I want this is because we have so few wedge options,
Yes.
which is going to slide right into my actual honest. I have right now, I think, 89 decks built in paper for
Mhm.
PDH. There are two things that I do not have among these 89 decks that I have built. I do not have a Jeskai deck. I have every other legal color combination. I do not have Jeskai. And
Mhm.
worse, much more shameful, is that I do not have a deck whose commander was illustrated by RK Post.
Okay.
Both of these things are categorically unacceptable to me, which is why the actual downshift I want to have is Lightning Angel. This is a 4-mana, Jeskai colored. It costs 1, a white, a blue, and a red. You get a 3/4 flying vigilance haste.
Perfect.
That's the entire card.
Yeah.
It's just three keywords on a 3/4 flying body for 4 mana
Yep.
in Jeskai colors. I think it would be a completely balanced uncommon. Like, it's not a strong card. It's not going to warp the game. It's not even very good. But it's got beautiful art. It would be the Jeskai deck that I would get excited about building and playing. I would put in every single card that referenced lightning in any way.
Yeah, right.
Lightning Axe, Lightning Javelin, Lightning Bolt, Shock, like Electrolyze, all of it. I would
Yep.
in every single lightning card and just have a bad electricity flavored Voltron-ish deck that I was enjoyed and had RK Post art and was Jeskai.
Yep.
That's what I want.
I cannot argue with that choice at all.
That was the
Oh.
card that I was going to choose to downshift, by the way.
Oh, it was Lightning Angel? I thought it was
Yep.
Elisha.
Nope. It was Lightning Angel.
Oh, okay. I'm the one stealing from Liam.
Stealing the thunder and the lightning.
Yeah, I'll steal them both. Can I rant?
Yeah, go for it.
Please do.
Okay, so I promised 11 answers to this one card question, and I've given you 6. Here's the other 5. The mother flipping common backgrounds. I've had so many stupid flipping arguments about these common backgrounds, and all of it would just go away in an instant if Wizards printed a secret layer that had the 5 common backgrounds with uncommon set symbols. That would make
Yep.
literally 20% of the problems in my entire life vanish. Just into thin air, gone. I would never
Yeah.
have to hear about it ever again.
I am so with you on this one.
Just, it's so easy to just make this become a non-issue. Just give me the common background secret layer. They don't need new arts. They don't need special foil treatments. They just need
change one little thing.
an uncommon set symbol, and I will die less angry.
Yeah, you were pretty angry before, but this will make you a little less angry.
Slightly less angry. If I got
Yeah.
this and Blazing Root Walla and Dungeon Map, I would be substantially less angry. But as it is,
Measurably less.
measurably less. Yes. Okay, that's my entire rant. That is my 11 card answer to this 1 card question.
Beautiful. I love it. All excellent choices, and I would love more wedge, shard, 3-color, just commanders.
Yeah, we have a moderate variety of shard
Yeah.
commanders, but we have
That's true.
but there's literally exactly 6 legal wedge commanders.
Yeah.
Not 6 for each wedge. Grand total 6
A total of
wedge
6.
commanders.
Exactly.
So fun fact, there's 5 wedges.
Exactly. Yeah, we have 1 for each wedge except Sultai. Sultai gets a second commander because of planar chaos.
Yeah, because it's got blue in it.
Yeah, it's actually a green card, right? The Some kind of
It's Sultai. We'll talk about it later.
I think it's Anna Battle Mage, yeah. The green card with a blue and a black kicker.
Yep.
Okay, yep.
Not a good card, but it's technically a second option.
It's there.
You like Sultai.
It's an option for you.
There.
All right, well, that's a pretty good wish list. I guess we'll see what the holidays bring us. Maybe we'll get one of those in a special mystery Christmas set from Wizards. Gavin, get at us.
Gavin, I know you're listening. Just help me out.
PDH Pod Secret Lair. Where is it? All right, now we're going to hop all the way to the end of the show. But first, we're going to answer some listener questions. We got some pretty good ones again this week. Liam has been on the hunt getting some good questions. So I think let's just start out with the first one here. What do you think? And all these are from Twitter, right, Liam?
Yeah, they're all from Twitter.
Okay. The first one up here is from @BrandoSuperhero. If you were building a PDH battle box with 4 decks, what would they be? Assume you want to include all 5 colors and also showcase aggressive, mid-range, combo, and control strategies. What do you think, Dave?
I really struggled with this question because it's a great question, but aggro, mid-range, combo, and control are not axes on which I categorize decks, usually. Like, I separate my combo decks from my other decks because all of my combo decks are competitive. But I don't just differentiate between, like, aggressive, mid-range, and control-y things. I just kind of, like, do things that the commander wants me to do, and it lands where it lands. So trying to, like, figure out which of my decks counted as mid-range or aggro was a challenge for me. And it was also a challenge to figure out which decks I could put together in a battle box with, like, one of my competitive combo decks and still have, like, fair, balanced games. I think I eventually came up with a collection of 4 of them, and then I glanced at Liam's answer to this question that he had already written down, and I was like, oh, half of them are already there. I got to do something else. So I re-engineered my answer to just go with, instead of trying to find good decks that can compete with my competitive combo deck, I was just like, let's just include the garbage tier combo deck, Composite Golem.
Beautiful. Yep.
And we'll partner that up with 3 other decks that are also just straight up awful garbage cards that will make for really low-powered, really entertaining games. So to go with Composite Golem combo, I would pair Ripley Vance as my aggro option, which just completely folds to a single removal spell. I would use Hopeful Eidolon. Sorry, not Hopeful Eidolon. Hateful Eidolon. That's the one.
Yep.
Hateful Eidolon is a mono-black control deck that uses exclusively bad control cards that are enchantments that don't have flash, most of them, and only kill small creatures, but they can trip. And my mid-range choice would be Sharktocrab, just because I think that Sharktocrab is profoundly entertaining as a creature and a concept.
It is. 100% is.
That is.
How could it not be?
Right? It's a Shark Octopus Crab. It's
right, exactly.
Literally got everything you want out of the card in a title alone.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my garbage tier answer to your question. If you want to play really low-powered games with bad decks, those are the 4.
That's fair. It's a good list.
Thank you.
And I think that would end up producing a fun battle box.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So mine are not garbage tier, as one might say. Mine are kind of mid tier. And it all centers around Anna Battle Mage. So Anna Battle Mage is, as we talked, the second, I believe the color combination called Sultai. The second Sultai commander that we have available, and this deck is Sultai Kicker Control. Your goal being to kick Anna Battle Mage as many times as you can by bouncing it back to your hand, and using the green as your ramp to do so, the blue and the black should just be generic control. I think it'd be a fun deck. I've never actually built it, but I think it would be fun and different. So then I was looking at the question, and I had to showcase aggro, mid-range, combo, and control. And I wanted to include all 5 colors, but I wanted to balance the colors. So every color shows up twice in my battle box. After that, I decided to pull Carter because of his inclusion in the upcoming precons, the starter precons. I figured if Carter was a good choice for WotC to pull as the only uncommon inclusion in those precons, it'd be a good inclusion for this. especially because Carta is also popular enough in EDH that if you're convincing someone to come from EDH to PDH, you could probably convince them to do so with a legend. So I wanted there to be at least one legend.
100%.
I wanted there to be one legend in the battle box at least, if not two. I only have Carta as the only legend. But Carta can also be built as casual or like as kind of not competitive, but as strong as you may want to. So I chose to have Carta fill the mid-range slot by having a Rakdos sacrifice deck built here. So it's a little mid-rangey because it's encouraging aggro themes, but the deck itself is doing sacrifice shenanigans.
Sure.
So after that, I was like, okay, my next two inclusions need to have white because I had chosen two things with white and with two things without white and two things that had black. So I was looking around. I was like, what can fill this out? I was looking through my combo decks, stuff that, anything that had white in it, and the only combo deck I have that has white is Aethersworn Sphinx. So I threw that in there just because the deck I have. And so Azorius Affinity combo seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, absolutely.
These decks are, in my head, designed for new players, but new players to PDH, not necessarily to Magic. So, whereas Carta's the draw for someone coming from EDH, Aethersworn Sphinx is the draw for someone trying to figure something out. You tell them this is a Azorius Affinity combo, and they're just like, all right, bet, I'm going to figure this deck out. It's a bit of a puzzle, so I think it was a good inclusion.
Sure, absolutely.
So that left me with the Naya colors. And Naya is inherently aggro. So I was just poking through, and Naya is not a color combination that I build. So I looked at Gloriyscale Viashino, and I was like, you know what? That's the one. Because this deck would absolutely be just bonkers because it would only be multicolored cards. So I called it Naya Spectrum Aggro.
Love it.
I've seen Gloriyscale decks. They are a sight to behold.
I have not had the pleasure of playing against or with one yet.
I have not either, but in theory it looks great. So
yeah,
I mean,
this is my completely random battle box.
You know what are multicolored cards are Runes of the Deus, Armadillo Cloak, Shield of the Oversoul. Like I don't know if you've ever wanted to attack with a 10/10 trample double striker, but like you can.
I have.
You have.
As a matter of fact, I have.
Interesting. I have good news.
All right.
It was just reprinted too. But yeah, so like
was it?
Yeah, in Double Masters too.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, so these are just random picks based on random things, but they all kind of work out. And I think they would actually when I finished the list, I was looking and I was like, yeah, these actually if you built the decks right, could be fairly balanced. The only one I would be really concerned about here is Aethersworn Sphinx, but I think you can also tone that deck down fairly easily. So
I guess a quick
excellent list.
A quick comment I want to throw in here in terms of balance is that in my experience, if you want really good pod balance that involves combos, I think your pod should have 2 combo decks and 2 non-combo decks.
Yeah.
Every single time I've played a game where there's been exactly one combo deck, the combo deck gets dumpstered immediately.
Just dumpstered, huh?
And then then the game proceeds as a 3-player free for all.
That makes sense.
If you're playing this, the Aethersworn Sphinx main win is going to be the combo. It'll probably have a couple of large beaters built into the deck as a secondary win con. And a Battle Mage deck is going to be a control deck, but it's going to need some way to win, so it might have some large green creatures, or it might have, a combo in the deck. Looking at Carta, right, it's a mid-range sacrifice deck, but the commander is also inherently aggressive, so some of your creatures might also lean in that direction. The only one that really wouldn't have a backup plan would be the Gloriyscale, in my opinion, but I'm sure you could come up with something.
You could,
yeah. So I would definitely try to build a combo probably into the Battle Mage deck, just so it's there. But it wouldn't be a dedicated combo deck.
That makes more sense. Yeah, I would kind of expect at least one combo in Sultai.
Yeah,
because you've got all the transmute cards, so you can put together the Drake combo without too much trouble. And most of those cards are good for you anyway. So. Okay. Yeah. I want to hear Brad's
Brad, what do you got?
Yeah, all right. Well, I did not want to make this a slanted C PDH battle box, so my aggressive choice, my aggro choice, was going to be Zada, and then I thought better of it because that could ruin an otherwise semi-casual competitive pod all by itself, I think, depending on what's going on. But I went ahead and put from Dominaria United Tori de Auvignon, the Fury Rider, because I've been looking at it more and more, and I've actually played against the deck 2, maybe 3 times, and it can get really absurd. It definitely won the first pod I played it against, and it's good. It's kind of what I want to do. Not everything, but it's kind of what you think of when you think of a go wide Boros deck that pumps its red creatures, gives vigilance to the white creatures, yada yada yada. Like, it's crazy. So, and it's very unassuming. Like when you play against some Boros decks, you're like, okay, it's turn 4, here comes this, or it's turn 6, here comes these 2 spells, or Rally the Peasants, or War Flare, or whatever. This one is just sort of like, all right, they got a couple tokens. Next turn, okay, they got a few more tokens. 2 turns after that, that deck just took out 2 people. Like, because it can snowball so quickly. And it's not super often that we get a snowball-y commander like this in these colors. I mean, I know that's kind of what Boros does, but I just think it's super fun, and it's not, I don't think you can build it to be like top tier or super competitive, so I don't think it'll ever break or be the highest powered deck in a battle box of PDH decks, if that makes sense.
I think it's a great choice.
For my control, no, not control, sorry. For my mid-range option, I went with one of my personal favorites, and that is Minthara from Commander's Legend Baldur's Gate. And I'm sort of pulling from my 60-card Pauper sort of pedigree or resume, whatever you want to call it. And actually, I think I did that for most of these decks because I have my own 60-card Pauper battle box that I've been sort of cultivating and whatnot. And I just look at Minthara as a very grindy Orzhov control commander. You can build her with dungeon sub-themes if you want, which works fine too. But I look at it as just a hard control Orzhov Pestilence, commander that just wants to win through attrition and removal and just beating you down. And she does that very well. Then, of course, I threw Risen Reef in here because I feel like every battle box needs a good value pile. Doesn't really have a win con. It just goes out there, draws a bunch of cards, casts a bunch of creatures, and it's fun as hell. The combo deck I picked, I've never actually played this one, but I've lost to it quite a bit. And I think, it's not a tier list combo deck, but it's kind of on the same level of Tori, where it's going to be strong. It'll be a force to kind of reckon with, but it won't be like, oh, I don't want to play Joe's battle box tonight because he's got that that combo deck in there. Like, it's not going to be that oppressive or anything. And that's Warden of the Eye, our only Jeskai commander. You can build it. I think you can build it balls out with all the combos you can think of, and it may not ever get to that top tier level, but it being in those colors, it inherently has just combo ability built in. So I think that's a good combo. It's fun colors, and I think that'd be a good include if I were building a battle box. And then for my last for my last option, for the control option, I do not build control decks very well. All I know about control is build a strong blue-black shell with interaction and efficient removal and some number of creatures, and it's probably going to be good. I feel like that in PDH. Just find a good Dimir commander that you like, that maybe has a sub-theme you want to run with, and then just load it. Like you said, load it with the good transmute cards, counterspells, interaction, removal spells, big creatures, flyers, that sort of thing, and you're probably going to do okay, especially out of a battle box. Now, I have things like, actually, I only have one Dimir deck built, and that's Rilsa. I don't think I would put Rilsa in a battle box of this level because she's really, really powerful.
Yeah.
Like, can be oppressive sometimes. And you could tune it down or whatever if you just really loved Rilsa, but I'm pretty much of the mindset that pick any Dimir commander you want, put a good shell around them, and you're good to go, so...
I recently built a Vohar deck, the blue-black Dominaria United Phyrexian Merfolk that loots and then drains when you discard when you discard an instant or sorcery off of his loot. He drains the table, and for 2 mana and sacrifice him, you can basically give a card in your graveyard flashback. Mm-hmm. I've had a lot of fun with him as a Dimir control commander.
Yeah, I can see that. And we've got, it wouldn't be control, but we've got Dimir commanders that are zombie lords and
Narfi.
Just all sort of fun stuff. So
Narfi does work. But
yeah, as far as the quote-unquote control option goes, I always lean on Dimir, so that's where I'm going. But whichever commander suits your fancy.
I like it.
All right, who wants to take the next question?
I could read it.
Woohoo.
If Liam wants to read the last one. This is question number 2 out of 3. This was sent to us from Twitter by @MC_Debeau. Even with only commons, do you still have a budget concerns putting decks together in paper? Example, you can't justify Utopia Sprawl in every green deck. Liam, tell us about Utopia Sprawl and budget concerns.
Yeah. My concerns are not usually when it comes to hyper expensive staples. And in PDH terms, I'm talking about anything more than $5. I tend to have 1 to 4 copies in my collection just because I've been playing for a while, and I've collected them over time, or I've traded for them. And I just cycle them through my decks as I take them to F&M. Realistically, I probably have 3 to 5 PDH decks complete at any given time, and then like another 20 piles, because I cycle cards through them. My singular Arabian Nights Oubliette gets played in every single one of my black decks. So like, it's just how it is. And yeah, I have a couple Double Masters copies floating around, but sometimes they get put in, sometimes they don't. So yeah, it's just, I like to cycle cards through decks. I know not everyone likes to do that. So in that case, I'm also not against just getting one of those MDFC blanks from Zendikar Rising through like Midnight Hunt. They printed them for 1.5 years in every booster
pack. Those
pack.
come in so handy.
And I have like 200 of them. And, I don't own 10 Utopia Sprawls, but, I own 2, maybe 3. But I definitely have a handful of Utopia Sprawls just proxed in decks. When for a while there, I wasn't moving cards around. I would just scrawl on a card what the name was and just put it in the deck, because for me personally, when I'm moving those types of cards around, those staples, I know what they do. I don't really need the physical card to remind me.
Right.
Yeah, I just proxying, I'm not against it. I'm not against the MDFC stuff, especially because they have magic backs, right? It comes in handy when I'm not saving up decks. But yeah,
Actually, I played a Deadly Dispute last night that was just a blood the blank token that you're talking about, and I just wrote on it because I didn't feel like looking for one.
But yeah, so like, the budget concern isn't really there for me personally. If you don't own copies, if you don't own multiple copies and you don't want to proxy, I can definitely see it being a problem when you want to put a Utopia Sprawl in every green deck. And in that case, my only suggestion is move the card around. That's all I got.
Yeah.
What about you, Brad? What about you, Brad? What do you got?
Oh, what about me? I'm pretty much right in line with you. I don't have much of a budgetary concern, when it comes in relation to this question, basically. That's not saying that if I need a $20 Lotus Petal, I'll just go buy 4 of them or whatever. But I've built so many decks and so many 60-card decks, too. I often find myself just borrowing cards from the 60-card deck, and I'll slide a piece of paper in the sleeve or what have you. So I don't really worry too much about it. And honestly, if it's a quote-unquote, in my opinion, pricey card at common or whatever, if it has a card that's even similar to it, I'll just run that one if I don't have the pricier one. There's very few decks of mine where I absolutely need a Utopia Sprawl, where Abundant Growth will probably just be fine, or Wild Growth, or what have you. But there are sometimes, like when I built Flesh Taker, I just love the card so much that me personally, I wanted it to have good versions, fancy versions, whatever you want to call it, of the cards that are in the deck. So there's no proxies in there. There's foils where I could afford them, foreign language cards, yada, yada, yada. But when I'm just building a deck, I'll just build a deck. If I need a Deadly Dispute, I'll try to think of a deck that, I probably have one in Mr. Orfeo. So, it's not in there. Where is it? I don't know. I'll just, like you said, I'll just scrawl it, write it down on a blank token and shove that in the deck. So I don't really have too much of a budgetary concern when it comes to that sort of thing. But at the same time, I don't just rush out and buy a card that I need for a deck that I'm not really sure I'll play more than 2 or 3 times.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's where I'm. And worst comes to worst, I'll just proxy it. I'll either draw something on a token or, on a blank card, or I'll print it up, cut it out, and shove it in a sleeve on top of a basic land. What do you think, Dave? How big's your budget here?
I am kind of a weird person to ask this question because I come from unreasonably fortunate circumstances when it comes to Magic the Gathering. I started playing in 95 and I played a lot in 95. I bought a lot of product back then. But more than that, my father got into the game. And my father in 95 was in his 40s with a lot of disposable income. So starting with
Sure.
about Urza's Saga, I think, my dad would buy a case of every standard set that came out, and he would put together a set. And he has his entire collection is sorted by set, by color, by collector's number, basically. And so he has, he's got this pile of like 20 skull clamps sitting around. Like, he's got a pile of Muddle the Mixtures. He probably has 20 Rhystic Studies. I know for a fact he has 13 Gaia's Cradles. So like,
oh my god,
no, yeah, his deck he's got an Alpha Shivan Dragon. Like the man is,
love it.
he goes hard. So like, and I also have like a very sizable collection that goes back to the mid 90s. So every time I put a deck together, like mostly I have all of the cards I need ready to go. There are some cards that I've just sort of like run out of. Like my stack of Muddle the Mixtures ran empty a couple months ago, so I had to buy a handful more of those so I could put them in future decks. Like when I have 90 decks put together, like there's some stacks of these cards that I'm going to run out of.
Yeah, you're bound to run out of something.
Yeah, so like I do occasionally will throw money at replenishing some of these like staple-ish cards. But yeah, for the most part, I budgetary concerns are not really a problem for me, although I mentioned at the start of this episode that I put together my Sicarian Infiltrator deck, and when I was going through my collection to pull out cards for it, I realized that I was down to my last Mightstone, and the only Ashnod's Altars I had left were in my set of Chronicles, and I didn't want to pull them out of the set. So I did what Liam and Brad have described. I just took some of the old MDFCs, the blank MDFC proxies, and I just wrote Mightstone and Ashnod's Altar on them, and I threw those in the deck instead, and that bothers me not at all. So
same here.
I'm happy to proxy these things that I'm running out of, and I have most everything else I need. So yeah, I do not often concern myself with budget things.
Excellent. And that's not because you're just like floating in cash. You know what I mean?
No.
You built your collection, like you have the cards.
There are cards that I bought in the 90s that are worth a lot of money now, but like
yeah, sure.
Like if tragedy ever befalls me, I can dip into this as like an emergency fund. But like as it stands,
That's beautiful.
I don't ever plan to like sell any of them. So like the monetary value of some of these things is like, oh hey, that's cool. Put it back in the binder. Like it stays there. Like I'm not I'm not interested in selling this. Like I don't desperately need cash right now. It's just kind of a cool thing to own and talk about. And
that is awesome. I don't, like I was saying, I don't have my collection from back in the day, but I love hearing about people's cards from back then because I played with them all. I had them all. My friends had them all. We had a table full of cards. We would just play these huge games, and I don't know. I just don't have them anymore.
If you'd like,
That's awesome.
If you'd like to hear something heartbreaking, the story of the terrible decision that we made in the 90s was Magic came out in 93. It immediately spawned a bunch of like copycat games. Like everyone and their mother was creating their own TCG in the late 90s, trying to like break into this industry that had just like exploded. And one of my dad's coworkers at the time, this was a guy who got into Magic instantly. He had a full set of Alpha, full set of Beta, Unlimited, the Dark, Legends, Arabian Nights, and Antiquities. He had a full set of each of these. And at that time, in like 95, I think, Decipher announced that they were going to release and market a Star Trek TCG. And a coworker of my dad's, this coworker who had all these sets, he was like, this is Magic's death knell. Magic is not going to survive. Like, Star Trek is so popular. Like, it's already got all the nerd cred. I'm selling all of this. I will sell all 7 of these sets to you. Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, Arabian Nights, Antiquities, The Dark, Legends. I will sell all 7 of these full sets to you for $5,000 so that I can invest that money into the Star Trek TCG. And my dad was like, $5,000 is a lot, man. I'm gonna pass. Like, can you imagine having three Black Lotuses? Like, yeah. So
Oh god.
so like when you hear
that is wild.
when you hear about my dad having like a lot of guys cradles, like yeah, like that's definitely nice. But like we also made garbage decisions as well. Like
Oh sure.
the Legends card that I invested like 3 months of my allowance into at the time was Firestorm Phoenix, which was
Beautiful.
$30 in the 90s and is still $30. Like,
Right,
it didn't
exactly.
change at all. So like, yeah, not all of our decisions were wise, but they were the decisions we made, and I still have that Firestorm Phoenix. I love it.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Did we all answer that? I think we did.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right. We're going to move on to our last question here. It's actually a double question from MC Dubois and Trent907 on Twitter. Trent YN907 on Twitter. As someone that restricts commander options to legends only, they're really hoping for more 3, 4, and 5 color options. Do we share the similar hope? And also, aside from relatively powerful value engines in the command zone like Risen Reef and Corpse Knight, do you think that with the push for uncommon legends in the past 2 or 3 years that most decks can be helmed by an actual uncommon legend rather than by an uncommon? A little bit of a two-parter.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the lead on this one.
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it.
So to answer the first part of that, I would not mind seeing more 3 or 4 color commanders in general. The limited number of options that we have is saddening, despite the power or excitement that some of those individuals might instill in players. I think the fact that there are so few of them is saddening. And then for the other half of that question, with the push for more uncommon legends, I do think that most decks could be reasonably helmed by a legend. And when I say that, and putting decks in quotes, I mean X color combo paired with Y reasonable strategy or archetype for the colors. For example, Boros Equipment, Cynic Glands, Grixis Spells, Mono Black Control, like the common color and archetype pairings that you will run into at any level in Magic. I think there are uncommon legends that could reasonably helm those strategies. However, I think part of the charm of PDH is the wackiness of some of the stuff that we get, like Mono Black Voltron, or is it Go Wide tokens? And I think the fact that these strategies are able to thrive amongst the quote normal decks and with the inherent power level of the format is a good thing. And Mono Black Voltron and is it Go Wide tokens are not something you could do with legendary creatures. So I think that while there should be more legends printed at uncommon in the 3 and 4 color spot, I don't think we should push to replace the current rule. And I do think that most common archetypes could be helmed by a legend, but not every deck can be helmed by a legend, because there are definitely uncommon creatures that don't have a legendary comparison at any rarity.
Yep.
And I think that's an important thing to distinguish, is that there are certain decks, if we switch to legends only, that would just die, because there is no replacement for them.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm. I agree with basically everything that Liam has said. I hope that we continue to get more legendary uncommons. I think that they're super cool. I would love to see more of them in 3 colors. I'm not sure about 4 colors or even 5 colors.
I would just like to see more 4-color legends. I don't care what rarity they're at.
4-color legends are really tricky to do. I think
I
that
know.
I think that the ones we got in that Commander Precon a few years ago are like really nice, but like I think that if Wizards tries to do more of those, they're gonna go off the rails in a hurry.
Yes, they will.
So
I
like
agree.
I would love some 3-color legendary uncommons. I think that the ones we got in Streets of New Capenna were very cool. I would love to see more of that.
Mm-hmm.
The flip side of this is that there's a very cynical part of me that worries that the reason we had this massive surge in uncommon legendaries is that Wizards has this like nefarious master plan to, like, in a year or two after there's even more uncommon legendaries, they're going to roll out this brand new format called Pauper Commander, and they're gonna like helm the rules committee, and they're just gonna like completely bulldoze everything we have done, and they're gonna enforce this Legends only rule. I would be devastated if that happened.
Yeah.
I don't think people would follow that. I think there's too many entrenched PDH players to be like, no, we got it.
I hope so.
We got our own rules. We got it.
I
As
hope.
someone who used to religiously only build legends, and by used to I mean like 3 months ago, and now I've built several non-legend decks, I would be upset at that rule change.
Yeah, like I think
Oh, I would definitely be upset if that happened, for sure. I would not follow WotC's rules, but I would be upset.
Most of me sort of like doesn't believe that it's going to happen because I think that like I don't think there's any money to be made by Wizards doing the Pauper Commander thing. So I feel like that's really good. Like they're business first. I think that would be a really good incentive for them to just leave us alone, you know? So like I don't think it's going to happen. There's the only it's the cynic in me that's worried about it, and it seems like
I'm with you. They've been fairly unpredictable lately.
To answer the other question, do I think that most decks can be helmed by an actual uncommon legend? Categorically, no, I do not.
Yeah.
I think that Liam. I was kind of worried about Liam's answer at first when he was like, "Yeah, maybe," but then he clarified he's talking about archetypes. Like I think that Liam is absolutely correct that if you choose an archetype, you can find a legend that will support that archetype.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's dozens, if not hundreds, of uncommon creatures that just have absolutely nothing even close to them as a legendary. And if you say that those things, if you try to restrict it to legendaries only, you're going to lose like all of those, and the format diversity will suffer catastrophically.
Yeah.
I was going through just the decks that I have built, and I made a list, and I'm not going to read the list because we're already at like hours here, and I don't want to. I want to make sure our editor has a slightly easier time with this, but it's a long list. I have many non-legendary commanders that could not be replaced with a legend,
Sure.
and that's just amongst the decks that I have built. Like if you look at other people who have built other decks, like you're going to find a lot more than that. And yeah, I think that we would lose a lot by trying to restrict things to only legends.
And most of those come from older uncommon creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just no legendary that compares to certain ones we have from back in the day, as it were.
Yeah, like Marshcroc, I think, is a really good example. Like
Marshcroc, and I can't think of the name, but like the commanders we have that have an untap ability.
Oh, Gilderbaron, yeah.
There you go. I don't think there's a legendary comparison.
Pure Sight Marrow.
Is there?
No, nothing legendary has an untap ability.
Right. So just stuff like that. You can't replace.
Yeah. Azra Oddsmaker. I would cry for days if we lost Azra Oddsmaker and any of the guild mages. Like the guild mages, the apprentices, the loyal cycle, like loyal apprentice. Like that's such a weird card for us because it was never designed to be a commander, but like when it satisfies its own commander condition,
it's
like
beautiful.
You end up with a card that like Wizards would never have printed that at uncommon if it activated itself.
All that stuff.
The lieutenant, that's the ability. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I don't need to go too in depth on this. I pretty much agree with both of you guys. I think we're all on the same mindset. Like Wizards is not going to stop printing legendary creatures, and I think that's clear obviously in the last year or so, plus all the cards they've printed that care about other cards being legendary. Like it's just the legendary train's not going to stop anytime soon. I don't think, but I hope they don't pay attention to Pauper Commander. And as far as I would love more, not a ton more. We don't need to get flooded with them, but I would love more 3-color options. Like you said, Dave, 4 colors would be very difficult. I've listened to a couple different Drive to Work Mark Rosewater podcasts where he talks about that, how difficult 4-color factions or what have you would be to design. So I'd be fine with, I don't know, 2 more cycles maybe of 3-color commanders for a while.
Yeah.
And then I could take it or leave it if they gave us more 5-color options. I don't really play with those a whole lot anyway. So that's where I stand on that. And then, yeah, I'm with you guys too. I don't think Dave said it the best. There's just so many uncommon creatures that have no parallel in the legendary category. So
I think when it comes to the 3 colors, because we had a lot of shard commanders, and then we got, I think it was like 2 or 3 more for each color combination in Capenna. I think if we had, we have 1 for every wedge combination except that random extra Sultai one. I think if we got another 3-color set that was wedge themed, and we got 2 to 3 commanders per wedge combination, we would be solid for at least half a decade before needing anything new.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be totally great. Perfect. I would be on board with that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about the next half decade as if 5 years from now, Magic isn't going to be releasing a set every other week.
Dude, don't even. I'm done. Stop.
It's gonna be a new set for every FNM is gonna have a new set.
Yeah,
Yeah, honestly.
Standard's going to change weekly.
Yep. God, that's so not far from being the truth.
I jest, and yet.
I'm
And
so
yet-
scared of the precedence of 5 standard sets from last year.
I'm terrified of the precedence of $1,000 booster packs.
That too.
Oh, they're ugly too. God, they're so ugly. Oh, okay. Anyway,
Not
a fan.
Moving on.
all right. Well, that pretty much wraps up everything. We got about 2 hours covered here. That's awesome. Yeah, got through the questions, got through the main topic, wish list, all that good stuff. We shall move into the outro. But if you need anything else before the next episode, you can always email the show at thepdhpod@gmail.com. Of course, you can head on over to PDH Homebase's website. That'll take you to their Discord server. Liam and I are on Twitter at Pauper Command and Pauper_B, respectively. And Dave is everywhere else PDH is being talked about. I'll put all those links down in the show details. And then one more thing. Actually, 2 more things. But first, if you can't get enough of us and you really want to support the show, we are on Patreon now, patreon.com/thepdhpod. You can join Fridge, Patrick, Too Much Do, and Scarecrow with all their awesome support. They get behind-the-scenes content, including pre-shows and early access to our episodes. So check that out. It's a good time. It starts at $1 a month, I think. So I think that's fairly reasonable. And then, Liam, you want to touch on the Rags to Riches tournament real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. We have, once again, we're talking about the Rags to Riches PDH tournament hosted by Dallas Walker Nash at Gilded Adonis on Twitter. This event is located at Queen and Rook Games in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It is October 23rd, starts at noon local time. $10 entry fee with up to $350 of prizes, and the top table splits a set of the 40K EDH decks. We're going to talk about it again next week, but you should really sign up for this because I am busy that weekend, but I want to go to the second one, so I need this one to be really successful.
Give them a reason to make a second one.
Exactly.
I think I might be misremembering this, but I think I saw Dallas post something in one of the Discord channels about how it was getting close to full.
Ooh,
So-
That's awesome.
yeah, I'll have to reach out to him on Twitter and see what's going on.
Yeah. So
That would be awesome.
if I'm completely wrong about that, then my apologies to Dallas. I might have. I only kind of glanced at it and I was like, oh, okay, and then I looked away. But if that is true, then that's excellent news for Liam, who wants big
Yes.
success to fire again. It's bad news if you're listening to this 4 days from now and thinking I'm going to go sign up. It might already be full. Get your registration done soon.
Yeah, it'd be really bad news if you just drove out there expecting to get in
Yeah.
and it's full.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out first.
Yes.
But yeah, should be an awesome event. I'm excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, that pretty much brings episode 19 of the PDH Pod to a close. But one last thing, we'd like to give a big thanks to MTG Brad for letting us use their original music, as always, for the show. And from everyone in here to everyone out there, brew a deck, make your own wish list, I guess. And we'll see you in a week. Peace.
Cheers.
See ya.
I brought purple decks to the party. Pauper. I brought purple decks to the party.